So I'm doing this on the night of the election. Right now, as I'm videoing this, the outcome is still very much in doubt. Uh, the GOP is up a bit in the House. Currently, no gains for either party in the Senate. So let's assume for fun that the vaunted red wave is actually going to happen. Now, the idea of a red wave and the Republicans taking over Congress doesn't get me terribly excited because I have faith in the Republicans' ability to just screw this up beyond all belief. Even if they have functional majorities in both houses, they will find a way to make nothing of this. They'll find a way to make things worse. It's just their nature. Um, and a lot of it comes down to things I've talked about in other videos where they have this massive problem that the Republican Party has a progressive wing, and that progressive wing is absolutely satisfied with every single thing the US government is doing. They just think the pace is a little bit too fast. If we do everything we're doing now, if all the growth continues, but if we do it at a measured and responsible way, then all will be good. And the problem is because they can never ever get rid of these Republican progressives, they always have to compromise with them. And when they do compromise with them, you get nothing but government growth. If your goal is reduction and their goal is growth, there is no true compromise. So I thought I'd just throw out a few ideas here that if the GOP actually wants to do something in the next 2 years, assuming they have victory, um, things they should consider doing. The first thing I would say is don't do any BS impeachments on Biden. It's just really stupid, silly theater. The Democrats made absolute asses of themselves with all the stupid crap they were doing with Trump. Repeating it isn't going to help you. It's going to piss people off. Uh, and there's no way it's ever going to gain any traction. So don't even bother. Don't waste your time or our time doing it. Okay, so what about all the investigations? Well, you have to rethink the whole idea of investigations because, okay, this whole investigation thing only works on the minds of the absolute most rabid members of the GOP who have fantasies about seeing Hillary Clinton or Hunter Biden perp walked in orange jumpsuits, and it's never going to happen ever. Nothing's going to make that happen. So you have to have investigations if you're going to do them. You have to define what success is, and success has got to be almost certain. So if your goal is to at least make things known, you make that clear in advance. Like, yeah, we don't have, it's just you tell people in advance, we don't have expectations that we'll get criminal charges out of this because the system's corrupt. So you can say, we just want to bring this to light. We want to basically put the evidence forth so that people know this is really what happened. Now, if you can build some of these investigations together to lead to something useful, then do so. But again, don't get people's hopes up, making them think you're going to be arresting people when you can't possibly do it. The investigations uh, should have an understandable scope and should be fully attainable. That's success in them. The GOP also needs to look at any way they possibly can to cut spending, even if it's not significant. Okay, if there's a spending line item out there that researches the sex life of snails, Okay, draft a bill to get rid of the $10,000 line item for sex with snails. Okay, it should be able to pass Congress and throw it up to Biden and make him look like an idiot for having to veto it. Okay, just keep doing that, pitch dozens of bills at him a day with stuff like this, forcing him to veto stuff that makes him look a fool. That's one way you get to things going in the right direction. You're sending the right signal to the market saying, hey, we're trying to cut the spending, even though some of it's very symbolic. We're trying to change the way the system looks at itself. And if you can get the president to not override these, they're small victories. If he vetoes them, it's still a victory. Go for the victories. Take every single thing you can. I don't know if Mitch the Bitch is going to end up being the Senate Majority Leader again. That would be a really bad idea. Literally anybody other than him or Mitt Romney would make anybody in that position would be better. You need to really rethink the whole idea of pork barrel politics. The idea of, okay, well, we pay off everybody on the committee to basically get them to pass this particular bill so it can move forward. If you do business as usual, you guys are going to be out on your butts again in 2 years. Something that really needs to be a major priority is the idea of rolling back this huge new revamp of the IRS. Either you need to get rid of the agents that are coming online, or you need to find a way to hobble and kneecap them so badly that they're completely ineffective at what they do. You need to look at repealing the Affordable Care Act and replace it with laws that make concierge and co-op laws or co-ops friendly. So pass laws that make it more possible for these organizations to function, because you can't just get rid of the Affordable Care Act without creating openings for something to take its place. And concierge care is a very doable thing if the laws will let it happen. This is a long shot, but just it's something to do to get it into the public consciousness. Transfer federal lands to the states. Okay, we keep running into the same problem over and over again. This seesaw effect, where all of a sudden the government says, "Oh, well, we're not going to let anyone use the land for anything," and then the other side's like, "Oh, well, we're going to have this big fight trying to get permits back to use the land for the stuff we want." Get it out of the federal hands. No, it's not very likely to happen with Biden in charge, but rolling that ball out there might start a process where that could be doable in the near future. And if you get people thinking about it, of course, there'll be the hysterical outcries from the left. But once people start looking at it and saying, well, wait a minute, this could actually be massively beneficial to us all, it may actually gain political traction to where it might be doable after the 2024 election. At all costs, avoid federal police funding. Do not federally fund local police departments from Washington, D.C. It's a very bad idea. I understand the whole defund the police thing. You're thinking, okay, well, we got to do the opposite. No, the opposite is not that, because the more federal funds coming from the top down to the local police departments, the more strings that can be attached. So if you create all kinds of new programs where you're giving money to these local police organizations, when the Democrats take over again at some point, they are going to absolutely take over all these police departments. And it's literally the last thing you want. The other thing is the GOP needs to end its love affair with federal law enforcement. Okay, I hope you're starting to get the idea that the ATF, well, it's not the ATF anymore, but FBI, CIA, and all these other federal police forces, essentially almost every department's got their own now. They're not your buddies and they're not your friends. They have been going after you. They have turned on you. They are not your political allies. You need to find a way to defund them. You need to find a way to curtail their activities. You need to find a way to slow them down to where they're practically ineffective at doing things to American citizens. If you continue with your love the police no matter what attitude, you're going to get burned. Yeah, it's one thing to support the local police. It's a really bad idea to be supporting federal police. Rethink military organization. One of the huge problems the Republican Party has is they can sit there and find all these horrible things that government does in terms of, the various, funding lines, and they say, oh, well, government doing this is bad, government's doing that's bad. But when it's the Defense Department, every dollar becomes sanctified and is absolute, wondrous, beautiful stuff. And that's not true. The military is not a special place that makes great decisions. It's still another government bureaucracy. It's one of the few government bureaucracies we actually need, but that doesn't mean it should be given carte blanche to do whatever it wants. A serious reform effort needs to be put in place to look at how the money is being spent in the Department of Defense and all the rest of the security apparatus that goes with it. And not just merely look for waste and redundancies, but get rid of things that are actually counterproductive to the way the Republic functions. I would dare say we should also be looking at getting rid of functions that allow the military to operate outside executive and congressional control. You need to rethink American commitments abroad. There needs to be some form of retrenchment. Okay, even if all you're thinking is, well, gee, I think the American empire is a really good idea, we're overstretched. So at the very least, we need to start rethinking what our priorities are. But if we don't rethink these American commitments, if you don't say, here's a place that we have no damn business being in, if these places don't exist, you're basically going to get a lot of Americans mad at you because the American center, the middle class, isn't digging on the total war state all the time. And then this very much depends on how many seats are picked up in the Senate, if any are picked up at all. If you can pick up 53 seats, it's time to look at breaking the spine and the will of the progressive wing of the GOP. Okay, as long as they're there, it doesn't matter what kind of majority you have. It's having the enemy inside your own house. Okay, because they're not wanting what you want. And the only way you can get them to do what you want is essentially moving things in the wrong direction at a slower speed. And you can't let them dominate the party anymore. Personally, if you hit 53 or better, I would seriously look at just picking someone to be your scapegoat. My pick would be Mitt Romney. The man's a dirtbag. And I would treat him like he was an enemy combatant in my own party. I would strip him of all his committees. I would, every single bill that comes up that moves money into his state, I would strip it all, bust it down to zero, put him in a position where he has to beg on his hands and knees for every single penny. His life should be made miserable. He should be after a couple of months of pushing him around and getting him basically so that he's permanently whipped, he should have PTSD at the end of it. He should be so shaken that anybody else who's in the progressive wing of the GOP should be like in terror that this would happen to them next. He needs to be made an example of. Now, be very clear there, I'm not talking actual physical harm. I'm talking about politically emasculating him and humiliating him so that he as a force no longer exists, and everybody else who basically functions under his philosophy also fears that this will happen to them next. Okay. So we'll see how the rest of this actually plays out tonight. No idea how it goes. Really, for me, the fun of it is only really is how the left is going to react to this all. I mean, the people screaming and banging their heads against walls are always amusing, but it's also kind of fun to watch how far the left will be willing to go in playing games at the end, because it's going to be fun to watch all the really close races when, oh, look, computers no longer exist and things, counting we were able to do 10 years ago overnight now can't. It can only be done over a week. And oh, look, a box of ballots here and a box of ballots here and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it'll just be, that's where I get that's the joy I get out of watching this election, is really watching the left react to it, because it's already, to me, a foregone conclusion that even if somehow the Republicans won every single race tonight, I still don't think anything would change. That's just the nature of things. So, what do you think? Do you have any opinions on some of my ideas? Do you have some ideas of your own? Put them in the comment section below. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think if a moderate GOP majority comes up that they're actually going to do something good for a change, something that stands out? Or how about a change for a change, even if it's not a good change? Please smash the like button if you like my content. If there's somebody you think might enjoy this content, share it with them. And as always, please consider subscribing to my channel. I put out several videos a week on different things, politics, history, etc. Hey, thank you for spending time with me tonight. Hope to see you again in a future video.